Hello. Sorry to bother you. Can I ask you a slightly odd question?
Yeah, sure.
I'm making a podcast called Strangers on a Bench, where essentially I talk to people I don't know on benches for 10 or 15 minutes. Are you up for that? Do you want to give it a go?
I certainly don't want to do this.
That's the best way to start anything.
I know.
You know, but you'll be. I mean, look, it's a short life. It's something different for the day. You know, worst case scenario. I don't know what the worst case scenario is actually. What would be the worst case scenario?
Worst case scenario is when you realise who you are. That's the worst case scenario.
I'll try and try and steer it away from who you are. It will never be revealed.
It's unavoidable.
Okay, well,
taking a long time for me to realise what I really am. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was not good. So,
Okay.
Because I'm in a bad place. So.
Okay. Well, look. You know what we're going to do?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start as all these start. Everyone gets the same question at the start.
Right. Yeah.
And the lucky for you, the start one's relaxed.
Right.
So, if you can spin it into darkness,
Okay.
give it your best. I reckon you might be struggling at least straight off the bat.
Oh, I don't think so. I've got a genius for it.
Okay. The first question is there a day of the week that you favour?
No. See, I've already done it.
Now, okay, how about this one? If this is a game of chess, I've got a next move to try and bat away the dark place. And the next move is, was there ever one?
A kind of favourite, did you say favourite day of the week? No, I don't think I ever had one.
There's never been one?
No.
Even when you were 12 years old?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just take any day of the week then.
Okay.
I'm going to keep us still at bay
Okay.
with how I'm going to phrase this next question.
There's no humour without darkness, I tell you.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just take any random day.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry.
It's Hollywood.
It's my wife, actually. She's having her teeth done at the moment. Hi there. Hi. Yeah. Okay, I'm I'm doing a little interview in the park with someone who's doing a podcast. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or?
As long as we can get.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you a ring when it's done. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Speak to you in a while. Okay. Bye.
Now we know you've got a wife.
Oh yeah. I dragged her into the darkness as well. Mind you, she's pretty dark herself. Darkness attracts each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where were we? So we were on tomorrow.
Tomorrow, right?
Now, what I want to know is,
Yeah.
if you could take me through for you,
Yeah.
what would be your ideal day tomorrow, lived on this funny planet,
Oh.
within reason? You are you
Mm.
in the place you live.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best possible outcome for you tomorrow of a day?
Oh. I mean, I have to be brutally honest, really, because I could probably give the answer that is expected. But in a way, I think the best day for the kind of state of mind I'm in at the moment, or have been for quite some time, is that I just don't notice it. That it's a kind of escape. That I almost don't experience the day because I experience quite a lot of pain in the day. So if you could somehow find a way of escaping or not really being there, then that would probably be quite pleasurable.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be truthful.
No, of course.
The one
No,
thing about
I respect
being
that.
where I live is you can't do the non-truth anymore.
Geographically or mentally?
Mentally, you just can't lie because you realise you've been lying most of your life. And how I experience my day is can I just get it done in a kind of blur? You
So
know,
what-
probably if I was like, I'd be on heroin or something, you know, because
Yeah.
then I could then blot out or
So-
be an alcoholic.
Of course. So
But
what?
I'm not. I happen not to be.
This is good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe not.
Maybe
Start today.
not. It don't not pain relief.
Now, you've said to me, there came a point in your life you can no longer lie. There was
Not, not exactly. It's more that I realised
A
my
lie.
life was a lie.
Okay. Can you tell me about that moment of realization?
I had a breakdown about 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
For people who would be listening to this, would be like, you know, everyone's heard the word breakdown.
Yeah.
There may be people out there who think they've had a breakdown, or people who can't really identify it. How did you identify yours?
You know you've had a breakdown because there's no question about it. It's the most intense thing short of dying that you can ever have. It's the most, I mean, remarkable on one level thing that ever happens to anyone. I mean, breakdown almost doesn't give it justice. It's a complete disillusionment of your identity for a moment and then very quickly recreate. It's a bit like, have you ever seen Terminator? Where he's made out of liquid metal.
Yes.
And so he
Okay.
blasts him a few times and he melts like mercury and then he reconstitutes. So eventually you try and get yourself back together and you try to get some sense of identity again. But when it actually happens, the actual breakdown point, it's complete death. And it's probably the most terrifying thing you can ever experience. I don't want to ever experience something like that again. So since then, I've totally changed. I was so hypnotized by a sense of optimism and who I thought I was that it carried me through. But after that, I just saw a very sharp I saw myself very sharply, and it was too much to bear. Too much honesty for one moment.
It's okay. Where does this isn't too much of a painful question, I suppose they're all a bit painful, but what was the heart of the pain? I mean, what was the most striking bit of the pain? I mean, what was it that did it, if you know what I mean?
I realised that I wasn't the person I was. The breakdown point showed me that it was fictitious, it was fabricated. I can place it because what happened was that my thoughts became incredibly vicious and violent towards myself. I wanted to kill myself.
And they hadn't been that previously?
No. No. No, it just happened all of a sudden. It's just this terrible voice came into my head and I couldn't turn it off. I couldn't even sleep at night. I became insomniac straight away. And it was like some part of me that needed to come out, I think, which was vicious and violent and very frightening, but more truthful than the fictitious character.
How were you holding your true self at bay for so long? How
I think
did you
I
do that?
couldn't bear to be my true self because there was so much shame attached to it. So I had to fabricate a character that was positive, someone that would not be rejected and might be liked, because I knew I'd put everyone off. So I wouldn't have any friends. I don't have any friends now, so it's self-fulfilling anyway. But it's just so much shame in there, yeah. And so I couldn't bear to be myself.
You've had some kind of huge epiphany 5 years ago that your life up until that point has been a kind of lie. The life of someone else, not yourself, not your true self.
The one I thought I needed to be loved and liked and be popular and all that. it's almost like pre-rejection. I was
Yeah.
convinced I would always be rejected, and in the end, I was completely rejected. So I was right.
I see. Okay. Who instilled that thought that you thought you were always going to be rejected? Where does that
I
come
knew I
from?
wasn't right. I've always known I wasn't right. What kind of family I come from, and I've been trying to use my personality, intelligence, anything that I can mask it with.
Yeah.
And so you do everything. You work overtime to make sure they never spot it. It's exhausting. Eventually, I guess what happened 5 years ago is I just couldn't keep up that game anymore.
Okay. I'm still interested in playing the joyful advocate here.
Yeah.
You know,
God's
look,
advocate.
God's advocate. You know, look, you're still here. You're on
Yeah.
a bench,
I'm only here just.
but you are still here.
Yeah, I am. It's because of my wife.
You know, what have you got right?
Yeah, that's a really difficult one to answer because I see my life as a whole load of deluded mistakes. Mistakes purely because I didn't know who I was, and so I was making decisions for someone else, the character I thought I was.
Yeah.
But no matter what I did, I ended up here. So it's not that I got anything right, it's more that if I can survive this, probably not a bad thing to have the truth come out. But I don't know whether I can survive the truth, yeah. I feel persecuted, I feel overly vulnerable, I'm like a man with no skin. So there's too much sensitivity in there. If I could just dial that down, I don't know, I might go through this. But yeah.
So, but okay, I'm going to force you. There
Yeah.
must be something in the last 5 years you've got right. Come on.
Saying yes to this interview.
Yeah, the only one.
The only one.
The only single one.
Yeah.
I mean, how you've got a wife.
Yeah.
You say that she got you through
I
stuff.
got that you're
So,
right.
I mean, that sounds
yeah,
like
I got that
that
right.
was a decision you made.
Yeah, that one thing I did get right. So, yeah, recognising my wife was the one good thing. Yeah,
How did you recognise her? How did you find her?
I don't know because I nearly blew it, to be honest with you, at the beginning. I played all sorts of silly games because I was scared when I met her because I knew she was really wonderful and kind and fucked up like me really in the end, but I knew she was a really decent woman. Yeah, friend.
How long ago was that?
30 years.
30.
Yeah,
Okay, fantastic.
yeah.
So she's
And
seen.
I've dragged her to hell and back, and I felt so bad about that.
Well, you must have
Taking
given
it to
her.
hell.
You must have given her some light because otherwise she wouldn't be. She would not be still around, no?
Yeah, it's because she's so good. It's because she's such a big heart.
But she also must see the good in you.
Yeah, she
Right.
does. She does.
So that way you know it's it's there.
Yeah, she does.
You had this big realization 5 years ago, but she was a person that crossed over. So, that bit wasn't a lie.
No, she's been the one true thing. Yeah, it was way ahead of me. It was me in the future, in a way.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What part did she play in helping you get to that moment?
She played a big part because I couldn't bear to think that I was causing her suffering. And I think that's what broke it, really. That I was beginning to think that I was arming her with my embitterment, my sense of shame. I'm fine, I don't give a shit about me, but I'm doing this to this beautiful woman, I think that's what did it.
So what are her great strengths then?
Hers? She's just got a huge heart. She doesn't even realise it herself, I don't think. And she's forgiving, which I haven't experienced a lot of in my life, forgiveness, including from me. So it's just that bigness. It feels so claustrophobic, all of this. And she's spacious, I think that's what the heart brings. The mind just shuts you in a room.
let's go backwards a bit.
Yeah.
You at 30 years old,
Yeah.
what were you doing with your time? Cool.
Getting stoned a lot. I used to work as a photographic assistant, experimenting like we do, trying to find out who I was, but kind of trying to force who I was. Never had a lot of friends. My brother, who now I have nothing to do with, he walked away.
Any other siblings?
No, that's just him,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Did you have any pleasant times with him as a youngster? Was it
No.
ever good?
No, never good. Never good.
Any pleasant times at all as a youngster?
Yeah, I used to like nature a lot, yeah.
Okay.
But I'd always be on my own.
Yeah.
But I'd love
Well, that's
nature.
all right.
Yeah.
What did that look like?
I loved animals. I just loved animals. Possibly instinctively because I thought they don't harm you, you know.
Unless it's a bear in the woods. Have you had any bear encounters?
No,
No.
no. But I wouldn't blame them if they ate me, you know. But that's what they do. And if you get eaten by a shark, that's what they do. You know.
I have an image of you just being kind of swallowed by a shark. Your last words as
Yeah.
people approach you. That's what they do. So where were we? Sorry. Yeah. You as
30-year-old.
in nature. I like the image of you in nature. So
Yeah.
what are we talking? Was there a specific place you would go?
Anywhere,
As a child?
anywhere in
Anywhere.
nature, yeah. As long as I wasn't at home.
And you used to bolt out the door, off you go to
Yeah,
whatever
I'd never
the
be at
nearest.
home.
Yeah.
I'd come home like midnight
Oh wow.
as a kid, you know.
Wow. What would you be doing till midnight in
I'd
nature?
I
Are
would
we
be
talking
doing,
woods? Are we talking fields?
I mean, I
Streams?
come from Gibraltar, so I used to go to the beach and I'd be like on the rock or playing football with friends who then I'd kind of clamp and wouldn't let them go home because I'm not going home. But I'd avoid going home a lot.
Right.
Yeah,
Home was, I mean, was it? It sounds like it wasn't great.
it was a dark place. Yeah,
Can you say why? You don't have to.
depressing.
Yeah.
Very depressing, and lifeless and totally regimented and mechanistic. So I couldn't breathe. I had to get out and experiment and explore, and then I felt myself.
The regimented came from both parents or one?
Yeah, both.
Okay.
Essentially from my father, but my mum, was regimented as well. Very mechanistic, very lifeless. So it's frightening for a kid, actually. So the family is completely dysfunctional and broken, and we've all turned on each other, So there was nothing.
Any
left.
pleasant family times? If I had to put you on the spot and say, was there any?
I loved my granddad. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What did you like about your granddad?
So funny and wise, but he was human. He was really human. My father was born illegitimately, so he was not his real father, but he was more family to me than any of the other actual blood relatives.
Yeah.
So
These blood relatives, eh?
I know. Yeah,
They are a fucker.
Yeah. They are.
Oh, proper fucker.
They are. Yeah.
I mean, in a dream world, someone would have said, knocked to a door and go, look, you can come and choose someone else. These
Yeah.
guys aren't right for you.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's such a horrible thing that we have to
Yeah.
endure that, and that obviously can't help but to shape
No, that's
everything.
right. Yeah, that's right.
And you had no choice in the matter.
No. And also, you're so malleable as a kid because you're not conceptual. So it's all going indirect
Yeah.
into your unconscious.
Yeah.
And you've got no
And
choice.
you can't really process it. You're just taking
No,
it all
there's
in.
no processing until you get older and it all just comes shooting up.
And then you're 5 years ago.
5 years ago, exactly. Yeah.
Is there anger at parents?
Yeah, I think what I realised is I've been angry the whole of my life.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
But it's just not gone anywhere.
It's not gone anywhere, but I realised that actually the only purpose it served was to make me feel like I was powerful. It's just part of my persona to just go straight to anger. And it's a great way of covering up how vulnerable and insecure and fragile I feel with the shame and the sadness.
What does your anger look like?
It's not convincing anyone. I always feel the fear behind it. So it always feels like a bluff. It feels like I'm angry, but I'm actually hysterically frightened.
What are you frightened of then?
It's a good question. I think it's something in me. Yeah, I'm frightened of that coming out. Yeah. I got a glimpse of it, that cruelty and that violence in that voice I had when I had the breakdown I had 5 years ago.
Do you think you've ever been cruel to anyone that isn't yourself? I mean, do you
Yeah, I've been cruel to my wife. Yeah, and I've been cruel to most people I've ever known, I think.
really?
Yeah, I think I'm a
Wow.
cruel person, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How does that take? If you say you
I
are,
want payback.
oh right,
Yeah.
can you kind of give an example of a cruelty that you've done that that stayed with you?
I think it's a lack of empathy. I don't feel the person that I'm talking to, and so like for example, if me and Caroline get into an argument, I'll carry on because I get locked into the mental point of it without feeling the heart at all. It's like I become a very sadistic lawyer.
Okay, I see.
But really, what's behind it is that I feel pissed off at how my life is and who I am and what I've become. One of the phrases I kept on having when I had my breakdown was built to fail. I feel like I've been built to fail. It's like one of these toys or whatever. It's sent out and
Let's
it
be
was,
recalled.
yeah, recalled, exactly, faulty. Yeah,
Get a full refund.
yeah, the leg don't work. It doesn't really walk properly. So
So
that created
yeah,
a lot
okay.
of resentment.
But you feel like you are an empathetic person. Do you get? I mean, you.
I think I'm a good person deep down. It always upsets me when I say that because I don't like saying it. But I really do think I'm a good person
Okay.
deep down. I think there's so much shit on top of me.
Yeah.
And I've been... told you. And I do think I really care about people. But I hate them. I hate them because I can't care. It's like people are defending themselves like I defended myself. So you can never reach anyone. I feel like it's a closed off world. That's what I loved about meeting Caroline for the first time ever. And it was very difficult, but someone actually let me in. It's like I've been knocking on doors the whole of my life. No, not you. You stink. Fuck off. You're a leper. That's how I felt. I felt like I've been dragging around disease and stink. Self-loathing, really, because of the early start. Just made me
Yeah.
feel. What's the positives here?
So you were basically walking around, approaching everyone with this kind of this heavy,
Yeah,
self-loathing energy.
heavy.
And of course,
they could feel the
and
heavy
in a sense,
straight
of
away.
course, you were rejected.
Yeah, they could feel the
because
heavy.
no one wants that.
No one wants that.
And I think people.
That's right.
I think as humans,
Yeah,
you know, we see so many different faces. We take in so many different energies all the time.
Yeah.
And I genuinely believe we're all very good at
yeah,
reading what that is.
Right.
We've been put off of really believing in that. You know, because we believe knowing is kind of
Yeah, right.
factual
Knowledge.
knowing. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
provable.
You know, Bob.
but actually your instincts are kicking
yeah,
in, aren't they?
the instincts that never stops.
Yeah. No. So we're kind of almost like domesticated dogs.
Yeah,
You've lost your wild instincts. We should be more like wolves, you know.
yeah,
And that's what happened in a way
Yeah.
in the breakdown. That wolf
yeah,
came out,
yeah.
and the knowledge, stiff, kind of fragile character thought I'm going to get eaten by this wolf, you know.
Yeah. But like, look, I would say now, you know, being with you on this bench, and honestly, I've done hundreds of these now.
Yeah.
There's so many people. I've talked to everybody.
Yeah.
I've made it my life's work, really, in a
What drew you?
sense.
What drew you to it? What was the calling
What of people?
to do this?
The calling, I suppose, is being as useful as you possibly can be with
Okay.
what you've got. I'm actually not a very skilled person, but I've always made the best of my skills. So,
You see, that's your knowledge talking, isn't it?
yeah,
Because you've just framed yourself as not a very skillful person. And I'm sitting on this bench thinking, this guy's got some skills.
I've got some skills
Yeah, yeah.
interpersonally.
But
So-
maybe you have some skills in other ways as well.
I probably do.
Yeah.
I probably do. Mostly it's communication.
Yeah.
I've used that
Right.
with music.
Yeah, right.
So I've communicated songs,
Right,
and that's
You write songs,
yes,
yeah? Yeah.
and that's worked. I've been successful at that.
right.
But it's too easy to be drawn into what we're good at
Yeah,
to get
right.
on paper.
Right,
You know, songs are lovely,
yeah.
great, but this is what I believe is the purest of what I can make with my abilities. And I've always talked to strangers. I've did it, I did it anyway.
Right.
I did it on trains, I did it on buses. I would always test myself out. Could I do it here? Could I do it there?
Yeah.
I always tried.
Do you think you've got an unusual capacity for intimacy?
That's a really good question. Yes and no. You could argue that actually my ability to do this means I'm actually lacking in some intimacy.
I'll give you a quote there, which is, we're best at teaching what we most need to learn. So maybe you are good at intimacy, because it's what you most need to learn.
I think I am good. I am really good at it. But also, if I was too good at intimacy now,
Yeah,
I think I would be lost in your emotion.
yeah,
What makes me potentially good at this,
Yeah.
is whoever I'm up against,
Yeah.
whoever is here,
Yeah.
whatever their background, whatever
Yeah.
their situation, I can see it as a bird sees it.
right.
I
bird.
don't, as in I can see it as someone
Oh
flying
yeah,
above it,
overview.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bird.
as a kestrel. I can see it like a kestrel sees it.
Gotcha.
And that means that I can not get lost in it,
That's it. Yeah, you got a level of detachment there.
which is really important.
Yeah. But do you find, because that's probably what I'm driving at, do you find that you see yourself as you give these interviews?
No,
Right.
I'm not thinking about myself at all. I'm just like, I'm trying to just take in as much as I can,
Yeah.
form as many pictures.
I'll frame
to something.
I'll frame it differently. Do you feel that as your focus is totally on me, and you're detached, but you're also intimate, that as you do it, do you get a sense of you? It's almost like a spirit. You see your spirit. You feel. No, you don't see it. Yeah.
I think you do. Crucially, if you enter what I call this kind of middle realm,
Yeah.
this middle bubble where we can both put our heads into it,
Yeah.
and if you can get into there,
Yeah.
then you do see yourself
Yeah.
really beautifully,
Yeah.
and you see the use of yourself. You see
Yeah.
like what you can do as a human with
Yeah.
another human. They also see that.
Yeah.
You both see it.
Yeah.
The middle bubble happens.
Yeah.
Actually, bubble's probably quite a good analogy, or is it metaphor, whatever? Because I think it's when we depart, I'm not going to be connected to you. I'll be thinking about you, but
Yeah.
but this is it. So I feel like
And that's where the detachment comes in, isn't it? There's no clinging or hanging on.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly,
That's something I've never been able to do.
yeah.
Always get stuck on everything.
Oh, to get stuck in the.
So I get clingy straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that insecurity and shame, because I see people very independent. I see people that are confident and they go in, they come out. Whereas me, I'm always longing. It's like constantly starving.
Yeah,
And it's because of all that in my childhood where just didn't get the basics. So I've gone into my adulthood not realizing I was longing and torturing myself. No, I'm independent. No. So this is pretense of being independent. I don't need you. And ending up on my own,
Interesting.
There's a weird kind of
Yeah.
silly game that the mind has trapped me in there, of asserting something that I actually crying out for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before I started all that, we got onto the. I had a point I was going to make, but I'm not going to. I'm going to say it because I believe it. I was about to say, I've seen all these energies. I felt these energies.
Yeah.
I don't think you have a heavy energy anymore,
Right.
or at least if you think you do, it's not as bad as you think it is.
No.
It's not as heavy a bag as it was.
No.
It's more of a fanny pack than
That's right, yeah.
than a full-on army
That's right.
army
yeah.
bag.
Yeah. So there is optimism in that, in the sense that it's reducing in size.
Yeah.
Shrinking.
So that's really. I mean that is that's something. Maybe it will only just reduce in size as you go on. Can you think of anything that would help it reduce in size that you could realistically do?
No, I can't. I always used to think that when I get older and I retire, everything will be all right, but peaceful. So I always longed to retire,
And are you retired now?
Yeah, I'm retired now, yeah. But it didn't work that way. That's when the troubles really began.
Okay. I mean, this is me just, shooting
Yeah.
above the,
Yeah.
I could go through lots of steps where I say the next thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But I may as well say it because
No,
it's
say
on
it.
my head.
Yeah.
You seem to me like an absolutely terrible candidate for retirement.
Yeah, right.
The worst, actually.
right.
Because I think anyone with this much self and self-analysis, self-reflections,
No.
the carrying of weights that you obviously do carry,
Yeah,
I just don't see any good of
No.
not having meaningful task in your life.
I've never really known where to put myself. I've always done a lot of deadbeat jobs and gone from one thing to another. Never found a vocation, just been hiding out because I don't have that feel about myself,
Yeah.
if you see what I mean.
I don't know. I think I'm a big, much to my partner's dismay sometimes. I'm a big solutions guy.
Right, yeah.
I
I
get
think
that.
that's very true. I mean, I do agree with your partner. I think sometimes when you bring in solutions, it's like, I don't want to listen to you anymore.
Of course.
Yeah, so you've got to get the balance right.
But that is not me now. This is
No,
more
I
just
know
like
that.
we're in this
I
moment.
know that.
So
I'm defending your partner.
I mean, yeah, you'll be happy. Just about kind of, I don't think it's going to get any better. You just sitting and thinking. I feel like you've understood it. You received no love as a child, basically. Had to forge whole new identities. Realised those were fucked 5 years ago,
Yeah,
and here we are. So
Yeah.
it's a very basic way of doing it, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
basically what it is.
Yeah.
There's nothing kind of like there's nothing
no,
incredibly complex about
No,
it,
no,
really.
it's very simple.
It's obviously incredibly unfortunate and unlucky, and it's not
Yeah.
your fault.
no.
How to play it? Now, two thoughts came into my head. One, you've done a lot of, obviously a lot of introspection, a lot. In an odd way, you've been studying,
Yeah,
and people who will listen to this will also be, I think, helped by some of the stuff you've said. And in that sense, but what I'm saying, there's no reason why you couldn't help other people with mental-based things. I mean, there's just no point in not using yourself. I think if
Yeah.
you don't use yourself, you suffer.
sure. Yeah,
We're here to be useful.
yeah,
At least I think we are.
Yeah.
I think that's my general take. I think you've thought so carefully and so well about all these things, and you've demonstrated a real understanding to me and a clarity of where you are and what you've been through, which is what, so many other people have also been through. I think the beauty of that would be that you're using something you struggled with, as in,
Yeah.
so that struggle hasn't been in vain,
yeah.
and to use that for good. So that was a first thought.
Yeah,
Second one, I suppose, was just really busying yourself for something just instantly useful.
yeah,
Like, I don't know, go and work in a food bank or something. Just
Yeah.
like take yourself out of yourself,
right.
see what other people are doing.
Yeah,
That's what I would do if I was you. Because actually, how old were you before 5 years ago? May I ask?
58.
Right.
Yeah,
You look good for that age, by the way.
Okay.
For the age you are now, if you're 5 years
Yeah,
after
right.
58. In those 58 years, maybe actually you didn't get it as wrong as you thought you did.
No.
The point is that actually you were busying yourself with other stuff.
yeah,
But there was a reason why you did that. Doesn't mean that busying yourself now is also necessarily a bad thing.
no, I see what you're
The
saying.
point is
yeah.
you've had
There's
your-
an association. Yeah, yeah,
And you can busy yourself with something really meaningful
Right.
that helps other people.
yeah.
I think it's sometimes good to get away from yourself sometimes as well. You
Well,
spend
you asked me
all this
what my
time with yourself,
Ideal day. Would
and that's
be.
what you said.
Yeah, get away from it.
So make that your ideal day as much as you can. So yeah, those are my instant two thoughts.
Yeah,
Did any of those appeal? That's me.
yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in a sense, I think it's even the most deluded person. They really want to be useful, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, but for whatever reasons, it is more complicated than that, isn't it? People end up on the streets and all the rest of it because they go into some downward spiral because they don't feel like they're part of society. And I guess that's what I came to in a way, where I thought, well, how am I useful? How?
Yeah. Well,
You're
not.
right. You're
not
absolutely
useful
right.
on a bench.
No.
Unless this one. So you're useful now.
Yeah, I'm used to
You're
it
useful
now, yeah.
right now.
Yeah, yeah.
But pre-microphone, there's very little use to what you're doing other than personal, you know,
Yeah.
whatever.
But the point I'm making is that you know, it does make literal sense to go and be useful and go and do whatever. I guess I've not always found it that simple to figure that one out, which is why I've never found a vocation. I never found
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. But again, I just think it's just even the idea of vocation is a bit of a nonsense.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, what does it mean? You know,
Yeah.
it means one person tied to one thing. We're all many different things.
Yeah.
So the sense of vocation is itself nonsense.
Yeah.
And I think once you're past that thought, just fill your time with as much usefulness as you can.
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, as assuming you don't need, or you're okay money-wise.
Yeah, fairly all right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well then, you know, you'll meet people and you'll be useful and you'll feel good. And
I think the difficulty is, I'm not denying what you're saying, but you've had a lot of experiences by the time you get to this age.
Of course.
And so then your mind almost builds up a case on you and says, well, yeah, but that's all very good, but there was this and there was that and there was that.
Yeah.
You
Like, you know us.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
We
Quite.
simply can't do it.
No, but also just the fact that, you know, there's lots of experiences where there is a lot of rejection. The sense that, well, I just wanted to join in. Because, I mean, I was like that as a kid. I just wanted to join in, but it's not that simple because people are people are kind of cliquey. They're kind of gangy and tribey.
They are. That's what people are like.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm one of these characters, that, like Free Radical or whatever it's called. I don't know what it is. It doesn't fit in anything. It's kind of like in between. I don't know.
Sure.
It's just, I just don't feel I've ever been able to get into any kind of group. And I've tried. I have tried. Let me assure you. I really chucked myself out that wall.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it. And in a way, I kind of went my own way after that. Why is that? Why am I never good enough? All you want to do is be included. Yeah, and it's not being negative or anything like that. It's like, I know some of the things that are the blockers, even though what you're saying is absolutely, as you're right, absolutely basic. It is absolutely basic.
No, I get that.
But
I
you have to
understand.
then at the same time see all the kind of unconscious blockers that partly through experience and partly from childhood as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the reason why I always go on about group, and I'm kind of obsessed about groups, is because I think I've always been trying to recreate a family. You know?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
which I didn't
classic.
realise, by the way, originally. I didn't realise that's why I was chucking myself at all these groups.
Yeah.
You know, can I join your group? Can I join your group? Yeah. And it kind of goes wrong there.
Yeah.
It does go wrong because
Yeah.
you are trying to superimpose your need for a family, and it's just not going to work. You can't do that to a group. So that's been a lot of the sticking points.
I completely see that.
Yeah.
You said to me earlier you don't have any friends.
No.
I'm just trying to figure out why that is. It's like, you know, I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah.
I'm just like, why would other people not
You
enjoy
might not
talking
want to do it full time though.
Well, maybe not, but I mean, I can't think of like kind of.
You end up destroying a lot of friendships. That's how you not get friends.
Yeah, but how are you destroying them? You seem like someone that's not going to do anything kind of like overly rash or, I mean.
I do overly rash.
Really?
Yeah. The tension builds up in me and then I do something kamikaze.
Wow, okay.
It's kind of like totally self-destructive. Yeah.
So I think, what can you give an example?
Yeah, I'll write someone, I've had enough or something. I was like, it's like, do you really even like me or whatever? And I'll write a sort of foul email.
I see.
And that's it, we'll never see each other again. Done that throughout, I've got a whole track record of that. Yeah. Because, although I'm reasonable and everything, when I flip, all that stuff from earlier just comes out.
Yeah.
And that's where you see your own darkness. You see your own self-destructiveness, but also destructive towards others.
Yeah. But
It's a pattern that kicks in almost automatic. I'm on autopilot.
Do people take this, when you send these foul emails,
Yeah.
do people ever look past them and go, look, this is him just doing his thing again?
No, they take it literally.
No, they do work.
Yeah, they do work. Yeah. And then I regret when you see that.
Right.
It's a pretty well-known cycle, isn't it, where you do something very destructive like that, and then you feel the shame afterwards, and you regretted it.
Yeah.
And I think I've probably always regretted all of them.
Yeah. Interesting. But you've made those friends initially, so that's also interesting.
Yeah.
So,
When I was a lot younger, that doesn't really happen so much. So it's easier to make friends when you're younger. As you get older, they tend to just not replace. In terms of all of that. Yeah. So there's a sense of it does feel like your life is dying somewhat, in that flow. energy flow.
Yeah.
That sounds a bit dark and tragic as well, I know, but that's how it feels. I've got to be truthful with how it feels. It might be wrong, it might be deluded, it
Yeah.
might be overly dark, but it feels like the tide's going out.
Yeah, I get it.
There might be new ones, I'm not discounting that.
Yeah, I also think that sometimes you listen to people talking
Yeah.
and you listen to their words, but you feel a different
Yes. Yeah.
intention and energy.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm hearing you say words.
But like, that's so cool.
It obviously makes sense. I get it. I get the words.
Yeah.
But also there's like a aliveness to you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a aliveness in the way you're saying them. There's
it.
a vitality
Yeah.
to them
Yeah.
that says to
That's
me,
interesting, yeah, isn't
that
it?
says to me, I've got energy to give.
Right.
I feel like I don't know. It's just there's room there. There's room there. I just think don't
Yeah.
give that up. I think put yourself in
It's
position.
interesting what you're saying that about. I'm talking about dark, deathly things, and yet there's this vitality.
Yeah, and there
It's
so
a
clearly
huge
is.
paradox, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's so clear.
I can feel it as well.
There is
yeah.
love to give, basically. Simple as that.
Yeah.
There is love to give in you.
And the thing that blocks it is the idea or the trauma of pre-rejection.
Yeah.
So that thought form just stops me from
Yeah.
moving forward.
But I feel like if there's anything beautiful in the world, there is it is connection and
Yeah.
potential friendship and what that can mean.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's that far away from that. Do you still take photographs?
No, I stopped completely. Yeah.
What did you retire from when you retired?
Well, I had some crappy cleaning business at the time. Office cleaning was just part time. Yeah.
You had the business or you were cleaning yourself?
Yeah, it was my own business. Yeah.
Businessman? You're a businessman?
No.
Entrepreneur?
Not at all. No, it was just really basic, the bare minimum, because I never really wanted to work that much. So yeah.
But you set that up though.
Yeah, originally, yeah, I had time to myself. In those days, I wanted time to myself, But I've never ever been that connected to work. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people aren't.
yeah, a lot of people don't. Yeah, I mean, my dad, all he ever did was work. So I don't know whether they're related.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always thinking about work all the time. I'm always asking people about work on the
Yeah.
bench, and
Yeah,
because it is mad,
it is.
and
yeah.
it is to an extent, obviously, in the modern world, an invention.
Yeah,
I spoke to my friend Ryan today on the phone. It's Ryan's birthday today,
right.
and I said, so what are you doing today? And he just said, well, I'm just going to the office. Maybe it's just the way he said it, because he isn't a super officey person.
Yeah,
It just really struck me. And you're like, oh, that's awful.
right.
It's his birthday. I mean, if any time you shouldn't be fucking going into doing something that someone else wants you to do
Yeah,
to make money for them. Obviously, you're making money for yourself, but you're making more money for them. Like, what a world where that's just almost. Also, I suppose what's painful about it is almost unspoken. Yeah, of course he's going into the office.
Yeah.
There isn't any other option. Of course
no,
he is.
He's got no option.
Who am I to say, don't go into the office
Yeah.
or do something else? Or,
Yeah. Yeah,
it's the unthinkingness of it
Yeah.
which got me.
where it's mechanistic and then your
Yeah.
resentment build up and you feel trapped and all the rest of it, and then all the stuff that comes out
Yeah.
when you're older. The 350.
What do you have for breakfast?
Toast and coffee, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have on your toast?
Peanut butter and marmalade.
Mm.
Yeah.
What brand of peanut butter?
It's Whole Earth. Yeah. Smooth, not crunchy.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
How about you?
Sometimes you have a problem,
Yeah.
which is not really a problem, but it is like a small problem. I just sometimes can't help myself but just eat peanut butter straight from the tub.
Yeah.
It's a bit gross, but sometimes you eat so too much of it, it gets a bit kind of claggy in your mouth.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
like, oh God, I've had too much. But
Well, you spoon it out.
Yeah, you
do you?
spoon it out.
All right.
And the one I choose to have is called Manny Life.
Yeah, I don't know that.
It's
Yeah.
a free advert for them on this now.
Okay.
If Rose keeps us in, hi Rose, we'll say hi to Rose. Rose edits this.
Yeah.
So when there's a kind of edit point, I
Okay.
sometimes remember Rose.
Gotcha.
She'll be listening to this,
Right. Right.
which is a funny thought to know that someone will be listening to you months previous.
Right. Right.
It's like a little kind of time capsule. I
Yeah,
suppose.
it's kind of time thing. Yeah.
It's the autumn.
Do you like the autumn?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it?
I
Yeah.
do. as a kind of not a huge summer fan.
No, I'm not. I can't stand the summer.
Oh, there we go. There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, I can't stand. And
Oh,
my
I
wife
like it.
doesn't either.
Tell me why.
It's the heat. It's the sun. I prefer something a bit more middling. You know. Yeah, it feels like pressure. The summer.
It does, though.
It
You're
does,
right.
actually. There's a kind of
tyranny
heat
of
pressure.
it.
Yeah,
There's
the
a
tyranny of it. Yeah, and then the kind of there's almost a drunkenness in people's psyche in the summer, over the top. And so I kind of like something a bit more sober. You know.
Yeah.
It's got a whole energy about it.
Yeah.
The summer. Yeah, it's been like that for a long time.
It's been like that for a long
It has. Yeah.
as if there's a moment.
Yeah, there's been
where
a
it
lot of
wasn't.
summers. Yeah, a lot of summers.
Pre the summers, it was
Yeah.
a different. So, but when summers came in,
Oh yeah.
it's
yeah.
been like that for a
It's
long
been
time.
downhill ever
You know.
since. Yeah.
Actually, it's funny you should mention that. I'm really glad this.
I'm surprised because usually people shut you down when it comes to the summer.
Summer chat. No,
Yeah,
I'm actually.
People think you're
mad.
something wrong with you.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't like people who don't like summer. So immediately you get that. It's like they think, oh, people who don't like summer are miserable. So it's like code, you know. Right.
I just totally get you. I just think it's like such a, you see a bright, hot day, and
Yeah.
everyone's going. So where are we going? What are we doing?
Yeah, exactly.
It's commanding you to go
Yeah.
and worship me.
Yeah, yeah.
Why I really like that you think that, and that I think that, and that we're here now, in
In autumn.
that's definitely in it, is that doing these bench conversations.
Yeah.
Typically,
So, yeah.
that'll
Could
be. She's
yeah,
back again.
Her outdoors. Hi there. Yeah, I'll be another 5 minutes. Yeah, I'll be with you. Yeah, and I'll walk down to you in about 5 minutes or so. Yeah. Okay. See you in a while. Ta-ra then. Bye. Yeah. I better.
It's fantastic.
Better wrap it
We've
up.
got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I was about to say
Yeah,
that
autumn.
Autumn.
Yeah.
I was saying how most people are on benches in the summer,
Yeah. Right.
and since it's been also a bit colder, I haven't been out as much.
right.
I haven't done it for a week or so. Now it's firmly into autumn. It's nice. It's the first person I stumble across is someone
right.
that actually is kind of almost enjoying it because it is autumn.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
may have not been there in the summer, which
That's
I quite
right.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of like a reminder to get out there in all the seasons, 'cause you're going to get different people at different
Including
places.
winter as well. Yeah.
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 So we've got what? We've got 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, 4
The
minutes.
timer is running. Wife is calling. What should we do in these 4 minutes? What sight have you seen recently? Do you deem the most pure? Something you felt was just untouched.
A sight?
Something you've seen, in the flesh, not on a screen.
I think it was yesterday actually, and it was at British Museum, and there was this tiny little boy running along towards a plinth with a statue on it of a man with a horse, and he was so sweet, must have been about 4 or 5 years old, and he was running all just innocent and naive and thoughtless and unself-conscious, and his grandma was kind of keeping a protective eye over him, but she had a smile on her face, and it's a kind of romantic image I would normally not get into at all, but it just felt so pure, and it was really, really beautiful. Yeah, it was really innocent and pure, like you say. I think I connected with it somehow. It's something I normally block out,
But you didn't block it out yesterday.
I didn't block it out. I wondered why I was looking at it, but it was just a moment. This kind of like part of the waves, and that's it. It was like an image. It wasn't something I was looking at. It was like filmic, dreamlike, and it was because the purity you're talking about. I'm normally very sceptical of, as you can imagine, relationships between parents or grandparents and children. But that just felt like she's not overpowering him. He feels genuinely free. He's just lost, and she's lost in him, and it was just beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a lovely description.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, it's almost as if you knew the next day someone was going to ask you for the pure moment.
Well, I still have a sort of filmic eye.
Yeah.
I see things like that.
I like to take from that that maybe something is lifting
Yeah.
in you anyway that's
Well,
allowing
it's
you
nice
to
to
see
meet
these
you.
things.
Yeah.
You know?
It's good to talk to you.
Okay, penultimate question. We've got probably a minute left, I guess.
Yeah, it's about now. Yeah.
How have you found? What has surprised you about talking to a stranger on a bench?
I think the nice thing about it, if it is a surprise, is I felt, in a good way, like I disappeared a bit. You know, in a good way. Yeah. So, like you used the word lifting a minute ago. I think you did, didn't you?
Yeah.
Something lifted. Yeah. Sometimes things are so concrete, aren't they? And it does feel more spacious. I always associate the heart with spaciousness. So it felt pretty hearty, yeah. Yeah, maybe the spaciousness has surprised me, yeah. Yeah.
That's a very nice way of describing it.
You know, that whole bubble idea you've got, it made me realise why I do connect with it. But I thought this quite some time ago, what we all miss, and maybe it does relate to the thing you said a minute ago about your friend Ryan. Isn't it terrible? His birthday, he's going to the office. This goes with the answer to what I found surprising about this. That every now and then, I think it's hard to describe it, but I think magic is the most important thing in the world. And so children have a much more easy connection with magic. But I think that bubble you're talking about is about entering into magic, and then the magic then is put away again when the bubble is put away. And in a way you have to be naked enough and small enough to enter that bubble if you're going to really hit the magic. So but the thing about the magic is that it does open your heart, you know, and I think we experience magic really naturally when we're young, and then it goes. So,
But also,
I did that, I think.
yeah,
Just what you're saying about Ryan and that, it's his birthday, so he's like a little boy again, but he's an adult, so he's dragging his ass to the office, and I think we really have lost a lot of magic in this world, and cinema brings that in, and your dreams, and your art, and your creativity, and maybe that's why I experienced when I was young, being in nature. I saw magic in animals and nature, and it just got lost too quickly, you know. But I haven't lost it deep down.
Yeah.
So this has seemed magical to me.
Yeah, beautifully said. My only thought on top of that was that, you know, we lose it, but it doesn't mean it's not there.
No, it's always there.
It's there.
It's always there. You can't kill it.
Yeah.
It's what we really are, magic. Yeah.
Woof. The last question I ask people is what are they going to do next?
Just going into town with my wife, actually. Yeah. How about you?
Well, I am going to have a tin of canned fish.
I wouldn't have expected that as an answer.
I like to have a tin of fish with me when I'm doing the benches.
Oh, brilliant.
So I don't have to stop somewhere for lunch.
Yeah,
I can just do it quickly.
Yeah, great.
And then, it's going to be a odd follow up from this, but
right.
I've got the afternoon, so I see who else is out there.
Yeah, right. You
That's
can confess to them that you eat peanut butter out of a bucket as well.
Exactly. Now I've got that out in the open, I can really
that's
just.
it. You can freely,
I'm
regularly
off now.
confess it.
It's been really great.
Yeah, and you. Really
Thank
a pleasure
you.
to meet you. Yeah.
And thank you for being just yourself and just giving it everything,
Thank
which
you.
is the key.
Yeah, and you. Yeah.
That's when good stuff happens.
Smoking on the beach, slipping out of reach, just another ghost. The tide is coming in and drowning everything. I never learned to swim. Out of my depth, out of my depth, out of my depth, out of my depth. so high. I can't remember why I never learned to swim now. I'm out of my depth, out of my depth, out of my depth, out of my depth. I'm out of my depth, out of my depth, out of my depth, out of my depth, out of my depth. I could see magic everywhere, just not here now. I could see magic everywhere, it's just not here